The habit that's making your OCD worse is the one that feels the most sensible. It's the moment anxiety shows up and you decide, right, I need to have that certainty right now. So you start ruminating, analysing, checking, asking, scrolling forums, watching all sorts of videos online, even asking ChatGPT, trying to get that final answer that lets you relax. And it might calm you down for a few minutes, but that's the trap. Because every time that you do that, you train your brain that OCD is important, urgent, and worth your full attention. You're basically teaching your nervous system, yes, this is actually a real threat. We must solve it. And then OCD comes back stronger and stronger the next time. So in this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how the certainty habit keeps the trap alive. And I'm going to give you 5 practical shifts that you can start using immediately, not to get rid of the anxiety in the short term, but to build the skill that actually frees you. Feeling discomfort without feeding OCD with reassurance. So let's get straight into it. So point 1, a lot of people think that the compulsion is the obvious behavior, the checking, the washing, the asking, but very often the real compulsion is the need to feel certain. This is what OCD is chasing. It's not satisfied with a reasonable answer. It's not satisfied with probably that's okay. It wants a complete guarantee. And because we're human and because anxiety feels horrible, we naturally try to give it what it wants. We try to think our way into safety. We try to land on the perfect answer that gives us that just right feeling. But here's the issue with all of this. The moment you start trying to get that certainty, you've stepped into the OCD game, and that is the trap. So the first step in getting unstuck is not just noticing the scary thought, it's noticing the certainty hunt that happens after it, because that's where your power is. That's where you get to choose a different response to the OCD. Something that I've noticed in my own life is that the more I give away my power to OCD, the more that I actually give to it by saying, you know what, I do need to have that 100% certainty. I am going to ask ChatGPT this, or I am going to seek that reassurance from my friend, or I am going to go back and check that thing. You know, all we're really doing is we're giving away our power to the OCD. We're saying that we can't sit with that doubt. We can't sit with that uncertainty. We have to get that kind of reassurance from something outside of us. And unfortunately, the more that we do that, you know, the less certain we feel. We may start out having kind of, you know, quite a lot of certainty about something. You know, the OCD just suddenly pops out of nowhere and it makes us just second guess something a little bit. But if we just walked away from that thing in that moment and didn't seek that certainty, probably we would begin to forget about it again. But because we start digging into it and we're, you know, really trying to have 100% certainty, what ends up happening is we become less and less certain, less and less sure. And this is how OCD kind of finds a way in. It's constantly tricking us, just saying, just think about it once, because it knows that by doing that, you're going to end up thinking about it 10 times and you're going to feel much less certain. And this is the trap that we get caught in. I was getting stuck in that trap for a long time. OCD really dominated my life. But actually, you know, a lot of the time now, I'm able to completely let go of that because I know I don't need to have that 100% certainty. The second angle is this. OCD grows through attention, not because you're weak, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your brain learns from what you repeatedly do over time. And if every time anxiety shows up, you stop what you're doing in that moment and you give it your full focus, analysing, checking, asking, trying to get that certainty, your brain learns, right, this must be important. This must be a threat. And then the OCD shows up even louder, more convincing, more persistent. So it's not just about understanding OCD. It's about what you're actually training your nervous system to do when it shows up. Are you training it to treat discomfort as danger that must be solved? Or are you training it to allow discomfort to be there while you continue living your life? And I know that sounds simple, but this is actually the whole game. OCD wants to steal your attention. It wants you to treat it like an emergency. Recovery is learning to stop feeding it that attention. Our attention is a bit like a spotlight. Where we put it, we can really super focus in on, and we can really pay attention to that particular thing. But also there's a sense of kind of urgency that comes with that spotlight. When you center it in on that problem, you're basically telling your brain that, yeah, this thing, it really is an issue. It really does need to be solved. And that's why I'm shining a spotlight on it. And I'm going to keep it there because, until I figure it out, until I have that certainty, it is not safe. It is not responsible. It is not okay to walk away from that problem. I really do have to figure it out. But actually, this is just another part of the problem that keeps us stuck. A healthier way to think about what you need to do is actually having a floodlight. We need to be able to see whatever the problem is that you're, struggling with. But also, you need to be able to be aware of the bigger picture. There's all sorts of other things that are going on in your life that need your attention. You don't want to completely ignore that thing that you're bothered about, because that's kind of like pushing it down or pushing it away. You can see it with the floodlight. You're aware of it. You know it's there. But now you're not just going to pay attention to that. You haven't just got a spotlight focused in on the problem. You've got a floodlight that enables you to be aware of that thing, but also more aware of the wider picture and the other things that are going on in your life that actually you need to pay attention to. The third angle is one that's uncomfortable but very important. Reassurance works in the short term, and that's why it keeps you stuck. If reassurance didn't give you relief, you wouldn't actually keep doing it. You ask a question and you get the answer, and you feel a little bit better in the short term. The body calms down, the mind settles, and then OCD takes that as proof that you did the right thing. It's almost like it rewards the behavior, but what happens next, as you know, is OCD comes back and asks again, or it changes the question, or it moves on to a new theme because it's horrible and sneaky, and that's what it does. And now you feel that you need more reassurance more often, and it starts to feel like you can't cope without it. So you're not broken, you're just stuck in a learning loop. Discomfort shows up, reassurance reduces it, the brain says, do that again. And the way out is not finding better reassurance. The way out is learning how to tolerate the discomfort without needing that reassurance to make yourself feel better in the short term. Try to remind yourself that reassurance is relief. It's not freedom. Really, what we're trying to learn to do here is to play a more mid to long term game. If we're constantly trying to run away or push away or fight with our difficult emotions, really all we're doing is we're playing that short-term game, and we're going to constantly feel that we're being pushed around, that we're being beaten up by the OCD, because it's going to keep showing up. Those difficult emotions are going to keep on arriving. And we're going to feel that we have to do these compulsions in order to feel better. Really, to break out of that and to really grasp the fact that you do have freedom, that you're empowered. The only way to really get in touch with that is to make empowered choices that demonstrate to your mind and your body that you're not in a trap, that you don't have to do the compulsions, that actually you can make choices that lead to you feeling better in the mid to long term. And that is to not check, to not seek that reassurance, to not ask ChatGPT, and instead to allow that discomfort to be there. Now, of course, that isn't easy when you're first beginning to practice that. It's very important that we kind of build up slowly with that. But, you really can over time demonstrate to yourself that you don't have to ruminate. You don't have to get that reassurance. And as you do, well, that really starts to build your confidence. You start realizing that this is actually something that you can do. This is a new way of living your life that doesn't involve you constantly getting caught up in these cycles of OCD. So point 4 is the heart of this. The skill you're building is the ability to feel anxiety, to feel the discomfort in your body without needing to answer OCD's questions. OCD throws out the thought, the image, the sensation, the doubt, and then it says, sort it out, fix it, put out the fire, get sure. And you feel that sense of urgency, you feel that pull, and it can feel like you have to do something right now. But here's the empowering part. Even when you can't control the thought that shows up, you can control how you respond to it. And in that control is all of your power. You can choose to stop feeding it. You can choose acceptance, not liking it, not agreeing with it, not pretending it's fine, but allowing it to be there without turning it into a problem that you must solve right now. And that's what changes things over time. You're teaching your brain, hey, I can feel this and still live, still be happy. And that's why this is possible. It's not about being fearless. It's about becoming a bit more willing to experience difficult emotions. So it's all very well, talking about this from a kind of theoretical standpoint. But what does that actually look like in reality? Well, for me, in my own life, what this looks like is when anxiety shows up, when very difficult obsessions come up, I try to allow that discomfort to be there. Anxiety is a very visceral, difficult feeling to experience. Often for me, I experience it in my stomach or my chest. Sometimes it's in my shoulders. And it's really about recognizing, that you can feel that, but you don't have to kind of get lost in your head with thoughts about that sensation. Ultimately, it's a difficult emotion. What we want to do is we want to problem solve it, fix it, get rid of it, get reassurance about it. But the key thing is to acknowledge that it's there, but return to what matters. What are the things that are happening for you right now in this moment that are more important than paying attention to that difficult emotion? It's not about denying that the emotion is there. We acknowledge its presence, maybe for a second or two, or for 10 seconds, you might just feel it. But then you need to return back to the present moment without getting so stuck up here in your head. And this is really about, that attention that I was talking about earlier. Learning to pay a bit more attention to the people, to the things in your life that are really important to you, and allowing that sense of urgency and fear and anxiety to be there. It doesn't mean that it's going to be there all the time. It just means in the short term, for now, it might be there. And it's allowed to be there. You don't have to fix it or try to get rid of it. The most important thing is to allow yourself to come back to the present, to focus on what is going on around you. And that's when the body can learn how to fix it for you. You don't need to fix it with your head. The body will do that for you. And point 5 is this: don't try to stop every certainty behavior overnight. That usually becomes another perfection game. Instead, start training your response in small ways. Delay it, reduce it, step back from it. If you normally ruminate, practice delaying the rumination by 10 minutes. If you normally ask someone for reassurance, practice waiting before you message them. If you scroll forums or watch video after video trying to feel certain, practice not doing it straight away, or do a little bit less of it. And if you check your notes, your screenshots, symptoms, or how you feel, practice doing that one less time than normal. Not because you're trying to torture yourself here, but because you're building proof, evidence. You're showing your nervous system that you can feel uncertain and still cope. And that's the real exposure here. Not exposure to the thought itself, but exposure to the difficult emotions of not knowing. And every time that you do that, even if it's messy, you're weakening the habit that keeps OCD alive. And this is how you get your life back, one choice at a time. One activity that I think really helps with this is postponement. I teach this to all of my clients. The important thing is that you don't get that reassurance in the short term. But what you can do is make a kind of deal with yourself where you kind of say, look, if I really want to get that reassurance later today, at 5 p.m, or even if you're really, really anxious, you can just postpone for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. This is a really helpful thing that you can do, because if you don't get that reassurance straight away and you just postpone, really what's happening is you're giving your nervous system an opportunity to calm down. In that moment, we're activated, we're triggered. The sympathetic nervous system is kind of really activated and it's pumping out stress hormones. And for that reason, the problem seems very urgent. It feels that we need to get that relief right now. But actually, when we postpone, and we do something else, we put our attention elsewhere, really, we're giving our body a chance to calm down. And often when we do this, 10 minutes later or, at 5 p.m. later that day, we don't even want to think about that thing anymore because the moment's passed. We're feeling a bit calmer. And like this is a great way to kind of practice uncertainty, not getting that short-term reassurance and playing a bit more of the medium to long-term game. So I really hope that you found these tips helpful. And if you are struggling with OCD and anxiety, I do have a 12-week program that is based upon my own personal experiences of dealing with OCD and the many years of work that I've done now with hundreds of people who are struggling with OCD all over the world. If you're interested in finding out more about the program, it includes one-to-one coaching. There's also optional group sessions, there's meditations, there's an online community, all sorts of things to help you to overcome OCD. You can apply by heading over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com, and booking in there for a free discovery call. There's a link in the show notes. I really hope that you enjoyed. If you have any questions at all, do please let me know, and I'll see you next time. This video is for education only. It's not therapy or medical advice. If you're struggling, please speak with a licensed mental health professional.